recently saw Scream 5, which was titled Scream because it was a reboot, but not a reboot. Scream was exhilarating. It was exciting. It was very fast paced. There were moments in this film that I felt the script was going too fast. There were a lot of shockers and things that I did not expect in this film, and though I had already suspected who was the villain, I was still like, except for one part. One part I guessed, and when that part came, I was like, I knew it. But Scream was really good. I really liked it. I would score it a 7 out of 10. If I had to rate all Scream films, for me it would be Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 5, 4, and 3. I have a lot to say about this film. I felt like there were some things that weren't necessary, certain things that I needed to see that I felt like I missed, and certain things I just didn't understand. But overall, this was a great film. And now we're about to get into some spoilers. So if you have not seen the film, stop the video now. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. I'm about to tell y'all this entire movie. And here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2. So first things first, and I took some notes. First things first, I want to say that I loved how in your face, yet basically this film hid the plot in plain sight. We go into this film getting calls from Amber, and Dewey looked right at Sam and said, don't trust that man because it's always the love interest. So the killers were vaguely revealed within like the first 30 minutes of the film, and we had no clue. No clue at all, and I love how Scream does that because I'm an avid fan of the film, and so I go back and I watch Screams 1 through 4, and I can notice the parts where the killer is revealed every time. And this one was no different. When I saw it for the second, third, and fourth time, I noticed. And I was like, okay, I get even the little nuances within the movie. I'm just like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with this. First up is Tara. I feel like Tara is the true final girl. In my eyes, Tara is the final girl. Her opening scene, the opening scene was much like Casey Becker's Girl at Home Alone gets a call from a person who claims this wasn't a wrong number, wrong person. The killer called for Tara's mom and got Tara instead, and that was all that. Now, the texts were coming from Amber. The call was coming from Ghostface. I feel like Richie was Ghostface, even though he was in Modesto at the time. I feel like Richie was Ghostface, and he was kind of maybe texting Amber while he was talking to Tara, telling her when to move and when to do what. Or maybe they were all just in on the same call. But I found it very smart that Amber didn't want to change her number when she was texting these people and calling these people. It was just like, this is Amber calling you. This is Amber texting you. And it turned out to be fucking Amber, which is crazy. Now, love that this opening scene didn't give us a kill. Usually, it's a kill. Thankfully, Tara got in contact with the cops, and they were coming right as she was about to die. It just worked itself out. And I really love that. I love her love for elevated horror and how she was just like, I'm not really into this stuff. Like, it is what it is. But she was still giving like Casey Becker vibes. And it was just it was brilliantly shot. I really loved that. Vince, who we find out later on is Stu Macher's nephew, for me, was unnecessary. I've talked to a couple people and they've told me that they feel like Stu needed a connection to this film. So the connection was his nephew. Not so, because Amber lived in his freaking house. You don't think she knew that was Stu's house? She even said it. Once she moved into the house, she got obsessed with the staff films. So, with the hallucinations that Sam is having and the fact that Amber is living in Stu's house, there's your connection to your past. You didn't need... Vince was in 2 scenes. Vince was at the bar, he was at the school, and then he was dead. And then for the death to be off screen. Like, we saw him get stabbed and kind of like crawl to his death, but we didn't see the actual death. Also, we didn't see that silhouette scene of like Ghostface against the wall. There were a lot of scenes and shots in the trailer that we did not see in the film. Now, the Ghostface for Vince was Amber. Had to have been Amber because, I almost said Ryan. Richie was at the hospital with Sam. And Richie wouldn't have even known Vince. Vince was at the bar where Amber was. When Vince got put out, all of the kids got put out. Maybe they all have their own cars. Amber was like, I'm gonna catch y'all later. Put on her Ghostface outfit and killed Vince. That had to have been Amber. Sam. So Sam turns out to be Billy Loomis's daughter. And that whole storyline and just her character in general, not the actress, Sam, didn't really sell me. She just gave me, I'm not present. Like, I'm here physically, but I'm not present. Like, she just gave me days and I'm not here. The Billy Loomis hallucination, for me, was a bit overkill. Like, the first time, I was like, oh, that was a pleasant surprise. And I was like, oh my God, you know, Billy Loomis is in this film. But after he showed up so many times, like in the car, and then in the third act, he was kind of like looking at her and like motioning to the, like, it just, it wasn't the special effects. It wasn't that I don't like Billy Loomis. It just was unnecessary to the film so much. I think, again, it was overkill. Showing him once would have been great, but over and over and over and over, I just, Now, in that hospital scene where, right after Vince's death scene, Sam goes to take her meds and she's attacked by Ghostface. First things first, that had to have been Richie because, of course, Amber wasn't there. She was being interrogated at the police station. First thing, Sam, you didn't hear him talk. I know you heard him on the phone, but you didn't hear him talk. He was in the same room with you. You didn't hear him talking? And then 2 more questions I have regarding this scene. 1, how did he get into the Ghostface costume and get in and out of that break room without being noticed by anyone? That's a bit odd to me. And my next question regarding this scene, there was tables being moved, there was chairs being thrown, there was a lot of loud noise and commotion going on in that break room. Nobody heard Sam screaming. Nobody heard what was going on. Mindy is Chad's twin sister. She's also Martha Meek's daughter. I love how when we got to the Meeks' home, there was a shrine on the fireplace for Randy. There was a whole tribute, and I loved it. And I love how Mindy has sort of taken on the mantle, and now she's like the movie geek, and she knows everything about horror and about the remakes and the reboots. Her monologue was freaking everything. I actually think she and Dewey would have made a great team. She had all the knowledge of the horror films, and Dewey had all the knowledge on how to survive. Or at least we thought he did. Mindy was the one that brought up that each attack is connected to the one before. Right before she suspected Sam, and she was like, you're the perfect person. Mindy was the comedic relief. She gave us a lot of Randy and comedy and lightheartedness towards this film. It wasn't so brutal and like, because there was Mindy. And Richie, I almost called his real name. He was a big part of the comedic relief too, and I'm really glad that Mindy and Chad survived because I wasn't expecting either of them to survive, because when Mindy got attacked, she was like, that's a lot of blood, which lets me know that you're losing a lot of blood. And then Chad was giving like Kirby vibes. You know, like when he got stabbed, he was moving, but it was just like, you're bleeding out. You are bleeding out. The next part of this film, I want to, you know, couple these two people together because it's only right. Judy and Wes Hicks deserved better. They deserved so much better than they got. And I also want to point out that that scene of Judy Hicks like sort of like glancing up in like a menacing look in a very dark room was not in the movie at all. So I'm guessing that was just an extra scene that was probably deleted, or that was shot specifically for the trailer to be some misdirect. But yeah, they deserved so much better. I loved Judy's line where she was like, I prefer animated films and musicals because it's so Judy. She's such a like whimsical and lighthearted person. Even when she was getting Sam together at the hospital, she was like, you should just go back to where you came from. And she like marched off. She's always been this like jolly person. You saw her at the school like with Wes, like it just really hurt to lose both of them in the same scene. I really wished that Wes would have decided to go with his mom to go pick up the Chinese food. I mean, she did suggest him, you know, take a shower, I'll be right back, and it just didn't work out. Based on the trailer, I was expecting Judy Hicks to get attacked inside the house, go out to try to, you know, get away and, you know, die outside. But the way they did her death scene was epic. Epic. Mama's running inside. Oh, Wes, I'm coming. And Ghostface just comes from the side of the porch and just gah, 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 gah. It was epic. I was expecting Wes to see his mom, go inside to call the cops, and then run into Ghostface inside, but he simply just closed. And he didn't really get a fair shake at this. You know, I'm sure they just put him in the film to honor Wes, but I wanted so much more for Dylan Minette's character. I wanted so much more for his character. I felt like it was premature. I felt like before we could really even get invested in who Wes was as a character, as a person, as a son, as a friend, as a part of this friend group, he was just gone. That's why it seemed so off kilter in the third act when Chad is like, for Wes, because this is like, how do y'all, I don't know y'all's dynamic. Now, Ghostface, determining Ghostface in this scene is a bit tricky for me. People say that it's Richie, but when Sam left Mindy's house, she was on her way, I don't know where she was going, but on her way to wherever she was going, she happened to be stopped when she saw all the commotion going on at Judy Hicks's house. So all of this, depending on the time frame of how long it took her to drive, was just a matter of minutes. So how did Richie or Amber beat Sam to Judy's house? It doesn't add up. They were both left at Mindy's house. And if Richie was without a car because Sam was driving the car, how did Richie even get to Wes and Judy's home? I just don't. And nobody was outside walking their dog. Nobody was outside watering their grass. Nobody was washing their car, taking a walk, checking the mail. Nobody saw Judy Hicks get murdered. Nobody. But yeah, the people say it's Richie. I don't know. The verdict is still out on who exactly killed Wes and Judy. I don't know. Dewey. Okay. So let me just say that I'm okay with what happened to Dewey. I'm okay. I didn't want it, but I wanted it, if that makes any sense. I love that Tatum was honored in this film. From what I heard, they asked Rose McGowan to come back and do like some hallucination CGI stuff like what Skeet Ulrich did, but she declined. So they just had the box of ashes to honor her. They lied in the promo for this. Dewey is not in majority of this film. Nev was like, maybe she saw a different version, but she was like, Dewey's in a large part. No, he's not. This film was like 2 hours and Dewey is in like 30 minutes of this film. The same length of time that Nev is in this film, I would say that Dewey is in this film. Nev is the whole third act. Dewey is the whole second act. That's it. So in this film, Dewey is retired and separated from Gale. And from what we understand, they've been separated for a couple of years. Gale, I don't really have much to say about Gale. Gale is Gale in this movie. I don't know if she's writing books anymore. She is a talk show, not a talk show, but she has a morning show in New York. And that's how she and Dewey didn't work out. He moved with her to New York. After 2 months, he just couldn't cut it anymore, and he had to come back to Woodsboro. And Gale decided to stay in New York and continue working, so they split. And that, I think they remained friends and remained in. Well, I don't know if they remained friends because Gale defines Dewey as her best friend, but when Dewey talked to Sidney, he said he hadn't spoken to Gale in a couple years. So, yeah. Now, while we have Dewey, let's get on his death scene. The hospital. When Sam was screaming at the officer, "Who's at the hospital? Who's at the hospital?" Why was it so hard for the guy to just say, "There's another cop there"? Because we clearly see in that scene where Tara is like wheeling that a cop is dead. So there was somebody there with her. And at first I was going to be like, why is nobody on the floor? But Judy did say we can move her to a different floor. Now, even with her moving to a different floor and not being on the same floor as any patients, nurses, janitors, doctors, somebody aside from Tara and the cops should have been on that floor. Why was it so vacant? And do we have only 3 cops in this entire county? Which I know is not true because at the end of the movie, it was cops everywhere. So for Judy's scene, when she called in, why was nobody there? All of the cops didn't get there until after it was already too late. They was covering her up with the paper. Side-eye to Richie. I did not suspect Richie at all. There were a couple friends of mine who suspected Richie and Liv. I was kind of side-eyeing Liv, especially in that school scene, but I never suspected Richie until this scene here. When Richie just appeared out of nowhere, and then when he got attacked by Ghostface, let's dissect the attack. It was a slice to the forearm and a kick to the knee to kind of bring him down, and kind of that one kick rendered him unconscious. And a slice of the arm. Now, grant you, in Scream 2, Derek got sliced on the arm and he was definitely not the killer. But Jill in Scream 4 got sliced on the arm and she was goddamn killer. So that should tell you all you need to know. Now for Dewey's death. Dewey's death was really emotional for me, but it was something that I felt needed to happen. I get it. But the legacy characters are not invincible. If that was the case, Randy would have lived. The legacy characters are not invincible, and somebody needed to die to prove that. Y'all getting shot and stabbed and all of this over and over and over and over and over. No. Honestly, if you ask me, Dewey should have died in Scream 2. Once blood is coming from your mouth, you have internal bleeding. You need to die. Logically. But I loved Dewey's last lines. The "not today." And I think once he got to the elevator, he was just like, well, maybe today is my day. Because it was just like, y'all were done with it. And when you shot Ghostface, Amber, and we're going to get into that. When you shot Ghostface in that scene to get him up off you, you could have just shot her in the head right then and there. But you went back. We're going to shoot, and then got a call from Gale, and then you got stabbed from the front and the back. And Ghostface said yes today. It's an honor. And they wanted to make sure that you died because they not only stabbed you from the front and the back, they then took it up. You're dead. My cousin Dunye leaned over and was just like, Dewey's still alive? And I responded, no, the hell he not. I know for a fact he did. And, okay, of course we know the Ghostface is Amber because, Richie was in the elevator when all of this happened. Logically, that's impossible. This is a professionally trained officer. Not only to mention, this is a man that's bigger, not only in stature, but in weight than Amber. And this person was as tall as Richie. But rest in peace to Dewey. Sidney, I wrote, Sidney is super badass. She is out of Woodsboro because we can see based on the geographical, features, she is more than likely on the East Coast. She's a mom now. She has girls. We don't know if she has some sons, but she did mention girls. And she's married to Kincaid. When Dewey was talking to her on the phone, he said, how's Mark? His name is Mark Kincaid. So all of the fans, we got what we wanted. This is not toxic fandom. We just wanted her to be married to Mark, and we got that. Hallelujah. She didn't come to waste time. She came in the third act, and she was just ready to get this started. Now, my question for Sidney, and I'm off of Sidney now. Outside of the fact that she is totally badass, and bitch, I'm about to shoot first and ask questions later. I told you to show yourself. If you don't want to, that's on you. Now, for me, Sam knows Sidney's voice. Tara knows Sidney's voice. So when you heard her saying, hey, is anybody? Why didn't y'all scream out to her? Everybody was quiet as a mouse. On the way to Stu's house, Sidney told Gale, Billy Loomis started all of this. However, in Scream 3, Roman told Sidney that he started all of this. So are we omitting Scream 3, Sidney? Is that not a part of this universe? Or do we know the truth and it's just like that boy was just lying? Billy Loomis really did start all of this. Because it seems like y'all are pulling a Halloween. Y'all are serving us 1, 2, 4, and 5. It seems like y'all don't even want to. And I was going to say that 3 was the only film that didn't take place in Woodsboro, but somebody in the Woodsboro Horror Film Club had told me that Scream 2 wasn't in Woodsboro either. Winter College, from what I'm told, it's not in Woodsboro. Chad, let me wrap this up. It's getting a little lengthy. Chad, his scene gave a little bit much in the trailer. Like, the trailer gave it away. Now, granted, I was expecting him to die, but I basically knew what was going to happen. He was going to go outside looking for Liv. Well, he was going to be outside looking for Liv. And that he was going to get attacked. And that's exactly what happened. But he lives. And I'm so happy that he lives. He also gave some comedic relief with the Hobbs and Shaw. And the uglier Michael Myers comment, it didn't really move me. But I liked his character. I really did. Liv. Oh, the Ghostface that attacked Chad has to be Amber because Richie wasn't even there yet. Liv was top 3 on my suspect list. I suspected Amber. I suspected Judy being the mastermind. I suspected Wes. But Wes and Liv were like neck and neck. So Liv had me suspecting her in the school scene and in the scene with Mindy. Now, in the school scene, when everybody was going off to see Tara, and she was like, no, I got something to do. I was like, something is up. Even my cousin kind of nudged me and was just like, And then in the third act where she was talking to Mindy and she was like, are you afraid of me, Mindy? You know what happens to all of that. And I was just like, And then when she came back in with the blood, that was Stu all day. Like, oh my God, I don't know whose blood. It was a lot. And of course, if you've seen the film, then you know that Amber is revealed to be one of the killers by way of killing Liv. When Liv came in and was like, I'm not the killer, she was like, yeah, we know. Pow! And shot her square in the head. Perfect segue to Amber. Amber, I'm sorry, baby, but the trailer gave it away. I knew you were one of the killers by the trailer alone. When you came running out of the house, you was like, help! I knew it. Now, what kind of threw us off as fans, because I was watching a lot of trailer breakdowns and theories, was when we saw that shot of you on fire. We thought that you were just going to get attacked, but I always kind of thought you were one of the killers. So when it was revealed, I literally yelled out in the theater, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. Well, I didn't really yell, but I definitely said I knew it. And the guy on my left and my cousin on my right chuckled because I knew it. Now, even though I knew it, I will say, as somebody going into this film blindly, you were completely under my radar until the third act. When Tara got to that house and you cleared that entire party just to get this girl her inhaler, I knew something was up. I said to myself, something ain't right. And to close it out with Amber, your death scene with the fire, part 1, because they did have to shoot you in the brain. But that fire scene was completely epic. But unfortunately, outside of that, outside of the third act, really, you were completely forgettable. Not the person who portrays Amber, the character. Amber was completely forgettable. There was nothing significant about Amber in this film other than the fact that the calls were coming from Amber, and that reminded me of something else, and that she was a killer. Now, Chad, Liv. Is Liv in on this too? Because every time a victim is contacted, they're contacted by Amber. The number always shows up as either maybe Amber or Amber. The only time Amber wasn't the point of contact was when Chad was attacked, because it was a text message from Liv and the little, location thing. So was Liv in on this too? And when she was getting ready to say something, boom, cack, she got shot. Like, I'm confused, or because they never cloned anybody else's phone. It was always Amber's. And my last character is Richie. I didn't suspect Richie until Dewey's death scene. I told y'all, I gave him the side out. When he got sliced on the arm, I said, something is not right. And I started to watch Richie a lot closer. His infatuation with the stab films was a bit alarming for me. But even after the scene with Dewey, my suspicion just weakened and weakened and weakened, because he just went right back to being just regular old Richie. And I was just like, oh yeah, it can't be him. Like, I had a thought, but I was just like, nah, it's gotta be one of the friends. Richie was definitely the comedic relief, and he sold me on just being the oblivious supportive boyfriend that knew nothing about the stab films, knew nothing about the situation, and was just, I'm just here to help. And his reveal was unexpected, but not surprising. I keep talking about how he sold me. He really sold me once Amber was revealed, and he took Sam's hand and was like, let's go. He still gave me, I'm not in on this, and I don't want to, I'm a victim just like y'all are. But that was the film. I have a couple side notes. First was the motive. The motive was basically filmmakers are getting lazy with these stab films. So as super fans, Richie and Amber found each other on Reddit and decided to recreate the plot of Stab 1, which is basically making a movie based on actual events. And we as fans, we really go head to head on this. This is also a twist on toxic fandom. Because yes, they wanted to recreate it because they felt like the film was getting lackluster, but it was just like, take us seriously. We're not toxic just because we love it. And the reason why us fans go head to head is because after the film, we became toxic fans. Like, everybody is just like arguing, I hate it, I love it, this is wrong. It's just like, it's just a film. Let's just watch the film, enjoy it, and be grateful that we have another Scream installment. Let's go watch it so we can get a 6th one. Amen? Another side note, and huge concern of mine, I enjoyed this film. I give this film a 7 out of 10 once again. Where were the chase scenes? Now, some people in the Woodsboro Horror Film Club say that no chase scenes were necessary and that they really loved it. However, I wanted chase scenes. A part of the Scream franchise is the voice, the Ghostface costume, and the chase scenes. Yes, the kills were innovative and they were brutal and they were gut-wrenching and they were, something that we had never seen before. But classic Scream films involve chase scenes. And I think that was one of the elements that I missed from this film. It probably would have been like a 9 out of 10 had I got chase scenes. Another side note is that, again, I said this at the beginning of this review, I felt like it was a bit rushed at times. I felt like the third act moved at record speed. I feel like we didn't spend enough time mourning Dewey. This didn't just affect Gale. We needed a memorial. We needed some, like, Dewey is dead. We lost Dewey Riley, and we have been knowing who Dewey Riley is since the late 90s. We as fans deserved so much more from Dewey's death. Like, not the actual death, but the aftermath. We needed to mourn. A lot of these scenes needed to be drawn out just a little bit more. Y'all could have drawn out this movie a good 15 minutes and cut out the bar scene and Vince dying. Another side note, the way Sam cleaned that knife after she killed Richie, when she cleaned that knife the way Ghostface would, that was a bit telling for me, especially given the fact that we know you are the daughter of a serial killer, the original Ghostface. So is that a little nuanced nugget for Scream 6? Like, I paid close attention to that. I really did, and I want to know, what does that mean? And my last side note, which is a highlight for this film, Kirby Reed is alive. When Richie was in the hotel room eating Pizza Hut, come through for the product placement, and looking at videos on Stab 8, on the side in the recommended, the top video was interview with Woodsboro survivor Kirby Reed. Kirby is alive. I would have loved to see her other than that in some capacity in this film, but I am almost sure y'all better put her in Scream 6. But that's what Scream gave me. I loved it. I'm going to watch it at least 1,000 more times. But I wanted to get my thoughts out because I had so much to say, and just chiming in people's comments was not enough for me. I had to get on my own platform and talk about it. Make sure you are liking, commenting, subscribing, and that your notifications are on. Same place, same time.